This is a question for you if you're considering having a child someday. The question is simply this. If you were to be in a family situation where your child now is, let's say, 4 or 7 years old, and there's a family member, let's just randomly say an aunt or an uncle, who is not being in any way physically harmful to your child, but with their words is criticizing the child excessively or putting the child down or questioning the child in an aggressive way that is clearly hurting the child, that if there's some way hurting the child with words, would you get your child out of there? And or would you stand up to the person and insist that they stop doing this to your child? And if your answer to that question is no, you got a problem. If your answer to that question is yes, then what you're fundamentally saying by getting that child out of there is that you understand the need for and the importance of protecting your child emotionally. I stated there's no physical threat, but there's clearly, you recognize that it is hurting the child emotionally and that that is not okay, and you feel the need to protect your child emotionally. If you would do that, fantastic. You're already eons ahead of a lot of people. But the point is this: if you acknowledge that emotional protection of your child is important, then you have to ask two questions that are even more important. One is, who is it in your life presently? You don't have a child yet. Who is it in your life presently whose approval you're still seeking, whose attention you want, who you want to respect you, who you want to love you, who you get somewhat insecure around? Who are the ones whom you are wanting something from? Maybe it's a parent, maybe it's a friend, maybe it's a cousin, maybe it's an uncle, maybe it's a grandparent. Who is it? Because those are going to be the people that you are most likely to compromise protection of your child for, because you are still wanting something from that person. You are wanting this person, the uncle, the grandparent, whatever it might be, you are wanting their approval. You are wanting them to respect you. And so when push comes to shove, when your own child is being emotionally hurt, you're going to have to choose between protecting your child emotionally and protecting your own ego needs or your own what you want from this person. And unfortunately, it happens far too often that the parent will choose to protect themselves rather than standing up to their own parent and saying, hey, you can't treat your grandchild this way, or standing up to grandma who's this very critical person, your own grandma, the child's great grandma, or standing up to whatever. You'll back down or sort of back off, or you won't take as strong a stand for your child when there's a person from whom you want something. And the second question, and so the question you have to ask is, at what point do you do the work now to reduce your desire to get that from that person so that you are more likely to be present to your own child and engage in the emotional protection that this child needs? Because that's your highest priority. And if you haven't healed your own inner child, if you haven't healed your own needs from your past and your wants and your desires and your longings that you're still trying to get from these people, you will be far more likely to compromise your own child. Second question is this: if you value emotional protection, then that means you've got to value your child's emotional protection from your own shit. From your own shit. From your own ego needs, from your own spilling out, from your own criticizing your child, from your own undermining your child, or always controlling your child, right? Controlling them, that's your own ego shit. That's unresolved stuff inside of you. And now it's spilling out into your child. And it becomes insidious inside of that child, right? Because then they realize they are not emotionally safe, that it's all about dad's feelings, it's all about mom's feelings. And they walk on eggshells, or they're always trying to please you or make you happy because they're wanting your approval. In other words, you've got to ask yourself, is it possible your child needs emotional protection from you? And or is it possible your child is going to need emotional protection from your spouse? That's very often where the real rubber hits the road. Do you have the courage to stand between your child if your wife or your husband or your spouse is emotionally hurting, criticizing your child, when you've got so much invested in this relationship? This is the person whose love you want, whose support you value, who you fear leaving you, or whatever it might be. So you've got to look at, one, will I protect the child from however my spouse might emotionally hurt the child? Emotional protection. But will you also protect the child from any emotional damage you might do? And the way you protect your child give your child emotional protection from your own self is by healing your own crap that is causing you to hurt the child. It's all your own past stuff. not the present stuff. This may be exacerbating the problem, what's going on in your life presently, but it's the past stuff. When do you have the courage to go back into that, heal that inner child, heal those wounds that you're still running from, so that it does not spill out on your future child? Have a kick-ass day.